New York Governor Hochul has declared a state of emergency as torrential rains are causing widespread flooding.
We are seeing video of some of that flooding here in New York City. This was the scene in Brooklyn this afternoon. City streets looked more like a river. A travel advisory is in effect until tomorrow morning.
CBS News senior weather producer David Parkinson joins us now. David, what parts of New York City are seeing the most flooding? We see some parts that just look like a rainy day, but then other parts that look like there's real problems. What's going on?
Yeah, so here is the latest on the radar, and that is a material difference. The worst flooding rains right now are over Nassau County. Now, because you had so much rain this morning, it doesn't take a whole lot to continue the flooding. So particularly in Brooklyn and Queens in this corridor, sort of right along the BQE, you do have the concern it's still raining, so nothing's allowed to drain, nothing's allowed to go down. And then there is the potential for heavier rain. But the worst rain right now, this is just west of Hempstead along the Southern State Parkway, going up to the LIE there, and about, let's call that Mineola into Westbury. And then again, all the way up into Stamford, New Canaan, Westport, Norwalk, Bridgeport, basically all the way to the Fairfield County line, and all the way up to Ridgefield and Danbury and New Fairfield, up into northern parts of Fairfield County, into Westchester. You're seeing it in Chappaqua and Katona, up towards Brewster and Carmel. All of those places are now seeing rain rates. Basically, if you see anything that is in yellow or orange, that is a rain rate of about 1 inch per hour. And then in this area in red that I've circled, that's 2 inch per hour rain rates. That's really where you're going to see the flooding. But again, because the ground is so saturated to the north, it doesn't really matter the rain rates as much. In fact, if you take a look at how much rain has already fallen, I've got a 4.5 just outside of New Rochelle in Westchester County, 6 inches of rain down by JFK. But check out this 9.7. I mean, the Jersey Shore missed it by that much. If this band had set up 15 miles to the west, that would have been over places like Long Branch. So really fortunate that the worst rain actually didn't set up there or over portions of Brooklyn and Queens, but instead is over the ocean. But still, well over a half a foot of rain for most of the city's boroughs on up into the lower Hudson Valley. And that's where we're going to continue to see problems over the coming out.
Yeah. So my question is, given how saturated, as you say, the ground is right now, how bad could that flooding be tonight?
Yeah, so this is additional rain. This is not counting any of what you just saw on the map. And you can see, again, it is Queens, particularly the southern parts of Queens. So let's say an area of Ozone Park, places like that, that you're seeing the potential for another 6 inches of rain. Up into Connecticut now along the I-91 corridor there. There's a threat for the heaviest rain there as well. But the real question is why? Well, let's explain sort of what's going on here. You've got what is essentially the remnants of Ophelia still hanging around here. You've got a trough that's set up just off the shore, and everything is now coming into it. So it's just focusing all of this moisture straight into the New York metro area. Yes, the Boston area is going to be getting some more. Yes, we're going to be seeing more into portions of southern and even northern New England, but it was really fire hosed into New York. And that's what happens when you have these troughs that are just stationary. They don't go anywhere. And if you remember Hurricane Ida, which is the last time that we saw mass flooding in the subways and mass flooding in people's basement, it was a similar setup, a decaying tropical system, a front that was stuck in the same place, and a band that just doesn't move. I mean, this is a 6-hour loop, and look at that axis of heavy rain. It just does not move beyond a 5-10 mile radius outside of New York City. And so the concern really is, this is, again, you know, what we're seeing right now, but let's take a look at where we're going to be. There we go. Where we're going to be going into the future here. Here is your storm timeline. And take a look at that. Again, the heaviest rain now onto Long Island, but you're going to start to see things pinwheel back as the afternoon and evening goes on. So you will see more heavy rain as you get into the late night hours. And then on into tomorrow, the reason that travel advisory continues is because we see more rain, and you're seeing some of those yellows, oranges, and reds, which is the heaviest rain. You're going to see those straight into tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. And I don't think we're really fully done with it until we get into later on the day tomorrow. Remember, the center of the storm is back here where all these streamlines are. So all of this is pinwheeling around the outside.
So really quickly, because you mentioned the subways, 2.4 million people count on, or riders at least, on a daily basis, and so much of that's underground. How is all of that being impacted?
Yeah, so the problem is that water always finds a way to get to the lowest point, and in New York City, that's often the subways. So in these dense parts of Brooklyn and Queens where the subway is underground, that is a lower point, and so everything's rushing down into there. The MTA did their best to fortify things. I would also say, by the way, if you're planning on taking the LIRR this evening, it's going to be a problem because of all this heavy rain into portions of Jamaica and then into Nassau County. But the real problem is it's the topography of New York. In New York City, you have these neighborhoods. You have Flatbush, which is low-lying, and you have Crown Heights, which is relatively higher-lying. The water flows from Crown Heights down to Flatbush because that's the area that is topographically lower. And in between that time, there are all kinds of subways and grates for water to go into. That's where you also have that basement apartment flooding issue as well.
All right. Still a long way to go, it sounds like. David Parkinson, David, thank you.
Sure thing.